will be in Liverpool in 2 weeks' time to open an unusual building, Britain's first functioning Chinese pagoda. It cost the government and Liverpool Council £250,000. The pagoda will serve Manchester's, Merseyside's rather, 10,000-strong Chinese community, the largest in Europe, the largest, Bob Whittaker reports.
The first Chinamen to arrive in Liverpool 140 years ago were penniless seamen who jumped ship. The community quickly grew, but it's taken a century to get them their first community centre, which is what the pagoda is. It may look like a traditional Chinese temple, but it'll be geared to modern purposes with a mixture of welfare, sports and social facilities, like an advice centre and badminton court. And of course there'll be room for Chinese culture.
I feel the Chinese community live in this area almost in a cultural desert. Other than casinos and pubs or nightclubs, gambling clubs, they have no any other place to go. And the cinemas or other recreational facilities are not very available for the Chinese community because they work in very long and unsocial hours. So it is very, very important for me to think of promote something of Chinese culture with the premise that Chinese can enjoy their own cultural life. It is very important for us to make this center to be a place that people come, not because he's Chinese, but because he's interested about Chinese art and culture. In fact, in our activities now, we have a lot of English people, some other non-Chinese, join the Chinese people in here in activities of Oriental nature.
Well, I felt that this was needed. After all, the Chinese community did need a community centre of their own, as an ethnic group, as a group within the city that had given service, and we as a city council should be servicing them.
What does it mean to you to get involved in a dance that's very Chinese like that?
Well, it's very important because I feel I've lost out in my culture, and this is the first chance I've had to meet other Chinese people, as we've tended to keep to ourselves a lot. Well, this is a chance to go out, meet people, have some fun, and, well, to learn about your heritage.
When you were a lot younger at school, did you have any problems because of your Chinese background?
Yeah, yeah, we did. There are a lot of people who are still prejudiced, and you do come across it when you're younger. But as you get older, you learn to live with it, and it's good because it makes you feel confident in yourself.
Do you think eventually that the Chinese community and the women in particular will totally assimilate, or will they always want to preserve a separate identity?
I think they want to keep a separate identity because I don't think they want to be westernized to that extent.
But people would say, well, they live in the West, therefore you should become Western.
Yeah, but it's still at heart, they're still Chinese.
How did the Chinese community first form here in Liverpool?
From 1840s onwards, after Hong Kong was ceded to Britain, a lot of British merchant ships, they recruited a lot of Chinese seamen from Hong Kong because they were cheap labor. They only need a quarter of the wages paid to the ordinary white seamen. Then on stopover in Liverpool occasionally, some seamen jumped the ship and never gone back again.
What were those problems in the early days? What were the major problems?
Earlier days, one is from the language problem because most of them don't speak English, and then they don't understand what's happening in here, and then the local British people do not understand Chinese. They think they are vice, and they think they are only gambling and opium smokers. So there are some conflict and racial discrimination at first, which they suffered a lot.
And there are those, and I've heard them, who say that all Chinese are good for are sort of opening takeaways and restaurants. I mean, is that the case, and is it fair?
That's not very fair because Chinese community, because most of them originally doing laundries, after machines replace these laundries, the only thing they can do is to work in the kitchens, in the takeaway, or open restaurants. So this is make the ordinary British people think that Chinese are only cheapy minds. But they don't know that Chinese have ancient culture and variety of arts and the traditions, which have better contribution to the outside world.
What difference do you think the pagoda is going to make?
Oh, I hope it's going to make a big difference. It would be nice to get English people involved in the community, in the Chinese community, and make them realise that, well, we're just people like everybody else.
It was a sunny day in Liverpool today, and thousands turned out to cheer the Princess of Wales as she arrived to enjoy a Chinese meal in the heart of the city. Prince Charles, who'd arrived earlier, and the Princess were here to open a Chinese community centre. But first, one little man demanded a special kiss. The vandal-proof pagoda cost $250,000. It's open to all races and was built with help from the government's inner-city partnership. Lunch today was to be chicken and cashew nuts and a few other delicacies besides. Then it was time to sit down and enjoy a cabaret of traditional Chinese dancing. To open and bless what's called the Pagoda of the 100 Harmonies, no ribbon cutting. Instead, you have to paint the eyes of a ceremonial dragon. Like this, joked the prince. So they painted one eye each, everyone applauded, and Britain's most unique community centre was ready and waiting for business. Ken Rees, ITN, Liverpool.
Princess of Wales paint the eyes in a dragon to give life to one part of Liverpool. New life too for a couple. Good evening to you. Prince Charles and Princess Diana, on one of her last public appearances before the birth of their baby, visit some of the projects bringing new life to Liverpool. A £750,000 scheme to provide jobs for Toxters, Britain's first purpose-built local radio station, Radio Merseyside, and a new focal point for the city's long-established Chinese community. Richard Duckingfield was there.
Prince Charles returned to Toxteth to fulfil a promise. During his earlier visit, he said he wanted to see what was being done about the very high level of unemployment. And on the dockside, he visited one of the many schemes designed to create new jobs in the area. A 19th century transit shed is being converted into small factory units, offering cheap basic accommodation for new businesses. It's a joint enterprise involving the Merseyside Development Corporation and British American Tobacco. Young people who were previously unemployed have been given construction jobs. Eventually there'll be work for up to 300. One of the people Prince Charles spoke to was building contractor Bobby Ball.
Prince Charles was very interested in the development and very interested in the unemployment side of it. He asked me a few times, had I took any lads off the dole? I said yes. And I said to him, what made him laugh was I said to him, this sort of job's magic. And he just laughed.
The first big crowds are outside the new studios of BBC Radio Merseyside. Many people delayed their journey to the Grand National meeting at Aintree to catch a glimpse of the royal visitor, and he expressed his own very firm ideas about the role of local radio.
I think that local radio plays an enormously important role in acting as an effective channel of communications between its audience, in particular the younger aspect of the audience, and social and referral agencies. For instance, in marvelous things like publicizing vacancies and training schemes for the unemployed at this particular point in time when a lot of people are in a very bad way.
The new radio station, the most modern in the country, cost more than £1 million to build. The unveiling of a plaque was the first of the day's official openings to be formed by the Prince of Wales. And before he left, there was a gift for a future member of the royal family, a baby-sized T-shirt in anticipation of a forthcoming event in the summer. Less than a mile away, a reward for the biggest crowd so far who'd waited in the warm spring sunshine outside Liverpool's new Chinese community centre. Built at a cost of more than £500,000, it serves the oldest established Chinese community in Britain. And for Prince Charles, it was the second plaque and the second unveiling of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to be able to declare the community centre open and to have had the opportunity of coming here today to see something, a small part anyway, of the Chinese community
in Merseyside. And I know my wife is also looking forward to seeing you all shortly when she arrives. I do hope that it continues to go from strength to strength, and that you go on managing to raise some more money to add on the things which I know you want to add on. And I do hope that it performs the task that you intended for it. It gives me great pleasure.
One guest wore his greeting in unusual style. Others restricted themselves to more conventional greetings as Prince Charles learned more about Liverpool's most respected minority. If anything, the crowds outside were even larger when the Princess of Wales arrived half an hour later. Making her first visit to Merseyside, Princess Diana was greeted with the kind of enthusiasm that now follows wherever she goes. And with the unrehearsed inevitable, a toddler ran from the crowd to present a posy of daffodils. No doubt encouraged by his success, he returned again to claim a kiss from Princess Diana. Before the royal couple left, Prince Charles painted the pupils on the eyes of a dragon, an ancient Chinese ritual symbolising the giving of life to the community centre. Then a valued signature for the centre's new visitors book, and Princess Diana completed the ceremony by illuminating the eyes of the dragon, specially imported from Taiwan. Outside, in glorious sunshine, the royal walkabout, the moment the crowds had waited for up to 3 hours to see. And there were many moments to savour on what was one of Princess Diana's final public appearances before the birth of her own baby. But sadly, for one lady at least, the crush and the excitement proved just too much to bear. There were special parting words for people who'd managed to push their way to the front of the barriers. And all in all, a memorable, if not the biggest day in the history of Liverpool's Chinatown.
Prince Charles made his first visit today to Liverpool since his marriage, and he brought the Princess of Wales to the city for a first taste of Merseyside. The Prince arrived in the city before his wife and went to open a new £750,000 job creation centre. He spent some time examining work being carried out at the centre and took time to speak to two young mothers-to-be at the dockside before unveiling a plaque commemorating the opening of the workshop complex. Jill Walker and Christine Cheetham spoke of the Princess's thoughts on motherhood.
He just asked me when my baby was due, and I said the 21st of June, and he said, oh, that's quite near to ours, but he didn't give anything away.
And how about you, Jill? What did the Prince say to you?
He didn't actually say anything. He just wondered if it was something in the water that was getting us all pregnant. Told him no, it was something we'd been eating.
Meanwhile, the crowds had already gathered at the Chinese Community Centre in Toxteth. We're expecting some film in a moment. Just watch. It's coming up now. What happened was that the Prince, having opened the centre, went along to Toxteth. The crowds had already gathered at the Chinese Community Centre, and the Prince was the first to arrive. There was a quick chat with the crowd. And then came a meeting with the Chinese community before the Prince went on to unveil another plaque to mark the opening of the centre.
The task that you intended for it. It gives me great pleasure.
Princess Diana arrived an hour later, and as usual, the attentions of the children in the crowd distracted her. was then time to join the prince inside the centre for an 8-course Chinese banquet. It had been specially prepared by local Chinese chefs and included such delicacies as special prawns and fillet steak. And then it was time to relax with some traditional Chinese entertainment.
Goodish one, yeah.
But the highlight of the afternoon came when the royal couple performed the ceremony of the painting of the eyes onto the head of the Chinese dragon, symbolizing the giving of life. Then it was time for a final farewell, out into the sunshine where the prince and princess found time to chat with the mothers and children who'd waited so patiently for a glimpse of the royal couple. Well, as you saw, Prince Charles and Princess Diana painted the eye onto a ceremonial dragon during their visit to the Chinese pagoda. It struck us that we often see events like that without thinking about all the work that goes into preparing for the big moment. So we went along to the pagoda yesterday to see the original preparations.
This dragon is made of ceramic and specially made in a factory in Taipei. It is transported here by air. When Prince and Princess come, they will do a black dot on here with a Chinese brush and ink, symbolizing bringing the life to the dragon. It is a traditional Chinese custom for an emperor or heir to the throne to bring the life to the dragon, symbolizing supreme harmony and sovereignty.
Pagoda in Liverpool today. They had an 8-course Chinese banquet and then helped to put the finishing touches to a dragon when they opened a rather unusual community centre. Ken Rees was there.
The Princess of Wales arrived by Rolls for a Chinese meal in the heart of Liverpool, and at once an instant Scouse choir gave a greeting. So it was a kiss for luck and smiles unlimited on the first of the day's walkabouts in the bright sunshine. The Pagoda, Britain's newest, is really a £250,000 Chinese community centre, open to all races and built with help from the government's inner-city partnership. Lunch was chicken and cashew nuts and 7 more courses. The royals perhaps prudently ate in private, emerging looking well satisfied to find that it was cabaret time at the Pagoda of the 100 Harmonies. To open such a place, you need a VIP to give it life by painting the eyes on a ceremonial dragon. Like this, dear, said the prince. Now the dragon will sit on top of the building, looking down on a street where today the prince and princess met old people from the Toxteth Hospital evacuated during the riots. The only trouble for the chief constable today was how to control his Instamatic camera. Well, here's one of the pictures he might just have missed. Ken Rees, News at 10, Liverpool.
Tonight's soccer results.